Okay, welcome back to another Workbench video. I think this is number 16, I'm not exactly sure. I have the camera at a weird angle, I'm kind of off to the side here, I'm not behind it like I normally am, so I can't see what you see as well, so hopefully this goes correctly. You have my new kitten Jellico in the corner there. So I'm just going to show you what I got up to the last couple of weeks. My table's a mess, that's why we're on an ocean mat. Me and my wife, we played a battle report of Broadside Emperors at Steel. We recorded it, so hopefully that'll be up eventually. But I didn't bother changing the mat over, so I'm just going to have to deal with it on this. But anyway, what I have here is 3mm Strength and Honor, or for the rule set, Strength and Honor, Macedonian Army, or Pyrrhic Army, whichever you want. Could be an army from the Wars of the Diadochi, Alexander the Great, Pyrrhus of Epirus. It could be any of those things. It's very generic. I currently already have 2 painted Roman armies to do the Roman Civil War between Caesar and Pompey. And I have a Gaulish army, or Gaelic army. It's a metal 2mm or 3mm army that I have yet to paint. And this is my wooden, or MDF, Macedonian army. Now it's, like I said, it is MDF. All the figures are physically MDF. I'll grab this guy here so you can see it. This is a Macedonian phalanx. I mean, the detail, it took me quite a while to paint all the pikes front and back. But doing the uniform was just really easy, just a straight line of white. I also put a little bit of metal along the tips there. But this is a phalanx. Now, it's basically just a chunk of wood that's more or less each little row is kind of uneven, so it kind of dry brushes okay. But for the game Strength and Honor, you know, I think it'll work out fine. It also has the little skirmishers that go along with it. Now these are a pain to paint because there's really not much I can do. They're just little pieces of wood with bumps for helmets. So I painted them. You would think that it wouldn't take that long to paint these things, but it actually took a fair bit because I couldn't get any detail in there. They're basically wood chunks. They're from Lasercast in Australia, and they came reasonably fast in the mail and very good quality. They separated from their little frames. They're like laser cut into little pieces of MDF, and they separated from that pretty nicely. But they weren't the most detailed things in the world. The Romans that I did earlier are much more detailed, but they're resin figures, so that makes sense. This is just something quick and dirty to get on the table so I could have a Greek army, or Macedonian. Anyway, I got 4 units of pike in the back. I got 3 units of heavy horse, 1, 2, and 3, and then a unit of companion cavalry done. I also have a 1 base of allied infantry with some skirmishers, and then I got 6 separate bases of skirmishers. I have a couple more to do, but that's basically what I've gotten done. So that is the first project. Took a few days actually. It comparatively to everything else took a while, just because I hummed and hawed about how am I going to paint these things. For most of the time I was, kind of holding them in my hand, going like, what do I do here? How do I do this? I'm not too sure. It's very basic stuff. But anyway, I'm just going to pause the video and clear that off, and that's the first thing I got done this last cycle. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and this is the next set of things that I did this week. I got some Horus Heresy 30k figures painted to expand on the armies that I already have. A couple weeks ago, you've seen the beginnings of my Iron Hands, and I wanted to show you some of the additions to that. I got the new plastic Kragnos, the new plastic Zakharin, and I got Ferrus Manus painted up after 10 years, or 8 years in my basement. And then my wife bought me a super heavy Baneblade kit, so I decided to expand and make an addition to my Wordbearers force, just to bring them points value up to where everyone else is at. So it's very shiny. I haven't done any of the actual weathering on it yet, but the decals and the painting and the chipping and stuff, that's done. It's extremely red right now. I'm debating putting some black panels on it to make it look more Wordbearer-ish. Right now it could be mistaken for Blood Angel, but on camera it comes across really red, but in person it's a lot more, a lot darker than the camera showing it. Anyway, yeah, so I painted up the, what variant is this? This is a Storm Sword. I really wanted to do a Bane sword, but apparently it wasn't around in the 30k world. And all I have to do is to take this off. It's got a little bit of, you'll see here, blue tack in there just to keep the barrel on. And now this is a different type of heavy, let me get this out of the way. This is a different type of heavy tank. When you put this on, it's also a different type of heavy tank. And then I have the long barrel and the extension here to make it a shadow sword. So the word bears are going to have something pretty neat to add to their force. Now, I didn't bother painting the Aquillas because they're traders. I actually didn't even realize I had put the Aquillas on there until I was painting it. I'm like, what the hell? And then by then I didn't want to mess around, but was shaving them off. And I painted it, or I primed it in a high humidity evening, and I made a huge balls of it. So there's lots of imperfections. You can't really see, but there's an imperfection right there. You can see just from the primer not drying correctly. And yeah, very basic job. But again, like I said, that is just to bring the word bears up a little bit. I'll show you the plastic, or the plastic Zakarian. So here it is. This is the brand new kit from Games Workshop. Really nice tank. Love it. Got some weathering powders on there. Got the little dude and I figured, you know, the Iron Hands are all about tanks, so they needed one of those. And then this was originally going to be, this crack nozzle was originally going to be the ward bears, but I have a Forge World resin falchion, and with this box, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I mean, I wanted to make this, it should be basically an Iron Hands, because they're all about the big tanks, but I didn't want the Iron Hands to have 2 super heavies and all the rest of the forces to have none. So it was going to either have to be a trader. It was going to have to be a trader tank. So it was either going to be the word bearers or the Emperor's Children. And quite honestly, I thought it would be a lot easier to paint red than it would be to paint purple and gold. So that's what I chose. But this was going to be originally the tank that I bought to be a word bearer tank. But I've changed that into an Iron Hands just because I wanted it done. And I had it, you know, trying to make sure I paint what I buy. I mean, the pile of shame will never get touched, but the new models, at least I can start on the new models. And then the last thing is showing off my Ferris Manus. Now, this is going to be a terrible camera job because maybe I'll take him out of a scenic base, actually. That way it's a lot easier to show him to you. So here is Ferris Manus. Just going to get behind the camera here while I wobble it. Okay, stop shaking. I mean, I've done much better paint jobs on stuff before, especially the Primarchs, but this was just trying to get him done. That's pretty part of the face too, if it comes across. But yeah, that's Ferris Manus and the Iron Hands and the tanks. I'm going to pause it here and show you the last thing. One moment. Okay, here is the last thing for the last 2 weeks. And that is reinforcements for my Aeronaf Imperial Skies, or Castles in the Sky, depending on what set you like most. I have both, so I intend to use them for both. So these are just reinforcements. What I have is I have some reinforcements for the French right there. I've got the battle cruiser, the aircraft carrier, and the battleship, or a dreadnought, sorry. And then some big reinforcements for the British. Sorry, my cats are fighting on the table here, so, well, wrestling. So the camera's going to shake. So yeah, I got the British reinforcements here, and then I got the German fleet. And I'll show these off in more detail a little later. But for now, it was important just to show you what I got painted. Let me pause the camera and I'll go down a little closer so you can get a better look at them. It's not the best, but it'll stop the shaking at least. First we'll show off the Germans. There's a little German torpedo boat or destroyer. There's a few of them, so I won't show them all. What other ones do you have? Oh, you've got a German, not torpedo boat, it's like a little gunboat. There's a few of them. That's the same one, that's the same one. This is another type. Not as big a gun, but there's more of them. A little corvette or frigate or something. You can see the ball right there. That's my cat. He's ready to pounce on it. So maybe I'll just move that out of the way so he can. I'm dropping stuff. There you go. He'll drop off the desk. We'll go on to the first light cruiser. Brigade models, really nice. It's got one primary gun and several secondaries. We'll go with the Emden next. This is the main light cruiser for the Germans. Lots of guns, just guns littered all over it. There's 3 of those. There's 2 of these. These are the heavy cruiser, the Lutzow, I think it's called. So it's got, it looks like a sort of a World War I British armored cruiser layout. You know, like the Defense or one of those ships. So there's 2 of them. Then we have a battle cruiser, which is here. This is the Derfflinger battle cruiser. Really nice. I really dig the German ships. At first I wasn't a fan of these like almost squared off prows, but once I got them in my hand, I really enjoy them. Really nice. That's the Derfflinger, a battle cruiser. I only have one German battle cruiser because I couldn't find any others. Then there is 3 of these ships. These are, I believe, these are the Koenig class or maybe the Kaiser class battleships. Really nice. There's 3 of them. Then there's the other 2 right there, and then this is the Dreadnought. This is, I can't remember the name. It's either Kaiser or Koenig or something. See, it's got. Let me make sure it zooms in there. I have them on 2 bases just because you can see what happens when the single basing on these ships makes them very uneven. So I gotta fix this one here. That's why he's off to the side. But that is the Germans. Next we'll show the French. This is an all-metal Charlemagne class battle cruiser. Looks like a giant torpedo. Really nice. He's all metal, so he kind of stays. There's enough weight in the center for it to stay on this thing. Then I decided to buy a second Dreadnought, French Dreadnought. You've seen one of these before. Now in this one here, I did manage to put the proper guns in the proper place. In the previous one, the single guns were in the fore and aft, and the duals were in the port and starboard. But this is the way it's supposed to be, I'm pretty sure. That's the second French Dreadnought. Then I'm going to do the British next. We'll start off with the smaller ships, the battle cruisers. So I can't remember exactly the name, but this is the first battle cruiser for the British. Really nice. I love this ship. It's got 2, I don't know what they would be, maybe 10-inch, maybe 11-inch guns. Maybe 12, I don't know. But essentially this is, I think this is either... There's different names. There's the Audacious. It's not that one. Oh no, it might be that one. Audacious and the Britannic or Britannia. This might be either one of those 2, the Britannia or the Audacious. And whichever one that one is, then this one here is the opposite. So we'll take a look at this one. It's got a triple turret at the front and a double at the back. And get this in frame here. This is either the Audacious or the Britannic, or Britannia, sorry. You can see the 2 of them look very close. some minor differences, but essentially they'll look good in line going into battle. So I'm happy about that. And then the last British battle cruiser is huge. This is the Anson. Now he's on 2 stands. And if you show him next to this guy here, you can see he's pretty big. And this is him. This is the Anson, HMS Anson. Now this to me is basically a battleship. I wouldn't really classify this as a battle cruiser, but it is all guns. It has 10 main guns and then 4 secondaries and several tertiary guns. And it's really nice, but it is a big beast. You can see it next to the German light cruiser. Then after that, we get to one of the more unique ships in the fleet. This is the British battleship Vanguard, HMS Vanguard. Now this model is all resin except for the metal tail and these things here. But there was a lot of imperfections in the mold, so this must be one of his older models or molds. It's a really nice model. I love the ship. That's why I bought it. I love the look of it. But the model itself needed a lot of work. I could zoom in and show you all the imperfections, all the little bubbles that needed filling in the resin casting, but other than that, this is the Vanguard. Now this is the big one, the big boy. We'll show the Anson next to him. You can see the Anson's almost as big. This is the Albert, HMS Albert. And it is, about camera center there. This guy is big. And he has lots of guns. He's got 12 large caliber guns on him. Not very many secondaries, but quite a few tertiaries. So there's Albert, Vanguard, and Anson, the 3 big boys for the British. And then you can also include kind of the battle cruisers in that as well, although they're more like mediums. Okay, in the last video you've seen that I painted a bunch of fighter stands, and I wanted to have some aircraft carriers, so I decided to get some aircraft carriers. Now here's what is the French aircraft carrier, if you couldn't tell by the flag painted on the deck at the back. This is actually a Japanese, from the Japanese line, Horyu or Soyuryu or something like that. But I decided to paint it as a French. I'm just going to assume in the lore in my own head is that the French ordered it to be built from Japan, and now they have an aircraft carrier, because the French do have one on the Brigade Models website, but I did not like the look of it. This is the Illustrious, HMS Illustrious for the British. Really nice. Now I have some, again, like I have to say again and repeat myself for like the 5th video in a row, but my painting standards are going down because I want to get this stuff painted and on the table. So there's the Illustrious for the British. And then the very last model for the last 2 weeks is the German airship, which is an aircraft carrier. Really nice model, completely different than the others. Doesn't still floats, but it's basically a big blimp. Very dystopian wars. And that's him. And that's what I got done this week. I got the 2mm, or last 2 weeks, the 2mm Macedonians, the Iron Hands, Ferris Manus, and the Super Heavy, and then these. And thanks for watching. We're going on 20 minutes, so it's bye for now. Thanks for watching.